What's up, Killer Bites fam? I hope you're ready for some true crime. If this is your first time here, welcome to Killer Bites, a web series where we dish on all sorts of mind-blowing true crime cases. Now in today's episode, I'll be going over everything we know about the disappearance of Fawn Marie Mountain. When Fawn disappeared in 2012 without a trace, her girlfriend Heather didn't go looking for her. Instead, she immediately remodeled their trailer home, moved out of state, and started dating another woman. So it seems like the girlfriend is clearly responsible, right? Well, Fawn filed a restraining order against her mom shortly before disappearing, which makes things more confusing. Maybe it was just the mom. Stick around to find out. 25-year-old Fawn Marie Mountain was last seen in November of 2012. At the time, she was in a relationship with a woman named Heather. Together, they lived in a trailer in Claysburg, Pennsylvania. Heather's brother, Mike, lived in the same trailer park with his girlfriend, Stephanie. So they were pretty close relationship-wise and distance-wise. On November 25th, both couples went over to Heather and Mike's parents' house. There, they helped Heather's parents clean up their butcher shop and prepare for the upcoming hunting season. When they finished their chores, Fawn, Heather, Mike, and Stephanie had a few drinks before heading back to their trailer park together. They stopped at Mike's trailer first so Heather could help Mike unload something from his car and bring it inside. While that was going on, Fawn and Stephanie stayed in the car and made small talk. That's when Fawn told Stephanie she planned to go home, watch a scary movie, and chill out before going to bed. Right after that, Heather and Mike came back, the two couples parted ways, and they went about their evenings. The following morning, Heather's parents came by to pick her and Mike up as they both worked at the butcher shop. When the parents pulled up to Heather's trailer, they noticed Heather outside smoking with no Fawn in sight. Stephanie asked Heather where Fawn was, and she said she had run away in the middle of the night. And you're just out there just casually smoking a cigarette like that? I'd be panicking. Heather claimed she got up to go to the bathroom around 3 a.m. and Fawn wasn't there. She said she tried looking for Fawn but had no luck. This wasn't the first time that Fawn had run away, however, but we'll get to that in a little bit later. So Heather went about her day as the suspicions grew, specifically Stephanie's suspicions. Heather normally freaked out about Fawn running away, but she didn't this time. Fawn didn't take anything from their trailer before allegedly running away. She didn't grab a jacket, and it was in November in Pennsylvania. Heather didn't reach out to any of Fawn's family or friends to let them know she ran away or ask them if she knew about her whereabouts. And over the next few weeks, she had made some drastic life decisions. Things like remodeling her and Fawn's trailer home, moving to Ohio, and dating a new woman. All this stuff happened way too fast, according to popular opinion. Stephanie was the one who eventually called Fawn's mom, Dorothy, because she had a feeling something had happened based on all these weird factors. Dorothy tried to report her daughter as missing, but the police, of course, took Heather's word as the Bible and just assumed that Fawn ran away and was totally okay. So let's travel back in time to learn more about Fawn's life until this point and see if there are any clues that might lead to more information about her disappearance. Fawn grew up in a very broken home. Her parents were always fighting, and she was physically violated at a young age by several people in her life. Despite all of this, Fawn tried to remain positive. Outgoing, adventurous, cheerful, friendly, and kind were the words most people used to describe Fawn. But Fawn struggled in relationships. Since Fawn was abused by men growing up, it was all she knew. She also had serious trust issues for understandable reasons. When she started dating, the guys she often went out with were scumbags who treated her like shit. One of the abusive guys Fawn was with got her pregnant twice. She gave birth to both babies but lost custody of them because she struggled with getting a job and functioning as an adult who needed to be responsible for 2 babies. Her baby daddy really messed her up, both physically and mentally. Fawn lost all self-worth, and it was at her lowest of lows. So she fell back into this awful cycle of dating terrible men. Fawn got pregnant for a 3rd time with a baby girl named Caden. Unfortunately, Caden was stillborn, which crushed Fawn, leaving her more broken and more traumatized than before. So here's where we get to Fawn and Heather. They met in 2009 at a local bar. Now, up until that point, Fawn had only dated men, but after meeting Heather, she decided to give women a try romantically. She spent every waking minute with Heather and moved in with her pretty quickly. When Fawn told her mom she wanted to move in with Heather, she told her she'd never move back to their hometown of Altoona. Dorothy thought this was an odd thing to say, especially since Altoona was just a 20-mile drive from where she was moving with Heather. Friends and family mentioned Fawn acting strange after moving with Heather, and Heather changed a lot in regards to the way that she treated Fawn. Over time, Heather became very possessive of Fawn. Heather took Fawn everywhere she went, even if it meant leaving her locked in the car while she was at work. Fawn wasn't allowed to hang out with friends, get a job, or have a cell phone. But Heather manipulated Fawn into thinking all of this was for her safety and well-being, which Fawn convinced herself into believing. She loved Heather and trusted that she truly had her best interests at heart, and then the physical abuse started. Fawn went to the hospital several times for injuries, which definitely raised eyebrows. But as soon as social workers and nurses started asking questions about Fawn potentially being harmed at home, Heather would switch up the hospital they went to when Fawn was hurt. There became a point when Fawn started to realize how horrible Heather was to her. Fawn tried to run away several times, but Heather would always find her and force her home. In 2011, Fawn filed a restraining order against her mom, Dorothy, just out of nowhere. Dorothy was in shock. She didn't have the greatest relationship with her daughter in the beginning, but they'd recently been doing well. So why would Fawn file for a restraining order all of a sudden? But it wasn't Fawn who filed for the order, it was Heather. Oh my God, this girl is insane. Speaking of restraining orders and Heather being insane, Stephanie said a few of Heather's past partners got restraining orders against her because she was so abusive. So the court decided Heather was clearly a danger to these people, which meant she could definitely be and was a danger to Fawn. Heather continued to seclude Fawn from the outside world, and Dorothy was really the only other person in Fawn's life aside from Heather. So with the new order in place, there was really nothing going for Fawn. She wasn't able to see her mom, didn't have friends, a job, or any activities that brought her joy, other than her conversations with Stephanie through the window. But it wasn't long until Heather caught wind of Fawn and Stephanie's window chats and boarded up the windows. Isn't that crazy? After this, Fawn tried to run away several more times. Each time, Heather found her and forced her back home. In November 2012, Fawn ran away to her mom's house. Heather quickly found her and called the police on Dorothy for breaking the restraining order. Dorothy was sent to jail for 2 days because of this. Wow. At this point, Dorothy was extremely concerned for her daughter's well-being, but she really couldn't do anything because of this restraining order. So she asked the police to do welfare checks on Fawn every once in a while. They performed these until November, the month she vanished. Fawn wasn't officially reported missing until 2015. That's 3 years later. Fawn's relatives kept trying to contact her, and they tried to see her in person, but it was clear she wasn't there. They had no idea she had been missing for 3 years. Fawn's family did some sleuthing and learned Fawn was still receiving welfare checks to Heather's trailer. They decided to call the Social Security office to make a report. The Social Security office sent out a letter to Fawn about a mandatory appointment that she failed to appear at, and that's what it took for the police to finally take Fawn's disappearance seriously. Well, actually, they didn't even take it seriously. They just filed a missing persons report. And after that, they didn't follow up with anyone, conduct any searches, or really put any effort into looking for Fawn. So Fawn and her cousin Bridget fell out of touch as they grew up, and Bridget didn't find out about the disappearance until 2017. Bridget knew she had to do something to help find her cousin. She reached out to Stephanie to get more information and started bugging the police about the case. Bridget and Stephanie became driving forces in this case, helping spread the word and trying to piece everything together. The woman reached out to people in Fawns Life to ask some questions. Everyone said they couldn't remember specifics, but said something along the lines of, "I did a thorough interview with the police a few years ago. They should know." So Bridget and Stephanie reached out to the police to see if they could get their interviews, but the police said they lost the recordings. The person in charge of the case was fired because of this, but no one had been assigned to Fawn's case after that. Seems hella lazy and completely disrespectful to Fawn's situation. In August, Bridget finally got the state involved with a new investigation of the case. It seemed like the authorities finally had their act together and were ready to get down to the bottom of this case. 5 years too late. A reward was posted. Heather was evicted from the trailer park for violence, shocker, and the grounds of the trailer park were searched. Bridget and company started a Facebook group to spread the word. Now to this day, we don't know if she's alive, but most people assume she is not. Although Dorothy seems a little sketchy with the restraining order thing, we now know that Heather was the one who filed. And I know it's suspicious that she didn't contact the rest of her family about Fawn vanishing. But several reports and videos say Dorothy has a cognitive deficit that kind of explains this. As for Heather, she's looking more and more suspicious by the minute. I briefly mentioned this earlier, but Heather remodeled her trailer home shortly after Fawn went missing. redoing the floors and everything. This leads me to believe that she was covering up evidence. Heather then moved to Ohio, started dating a girl, and then moved back with her to Pennsylvania where they later got married. Possibly the most suspicious element of all is that Heather's family sold their butcher shop a few months after Fawn's disappearance. All of their equipment and tools were sold as well, and a lot of people suspect Fawn may have been murdered and mutilated with these tools and equipment. That would make sense as to why Fawn's body has yet to be discovered. Heather also lied several times about where Fawn was. She first claimed that she ran away, then said she was in prison in Arizona, and later told someone else that she was in prison in Ohio. I mean, nothing adds up here, and it's really frustrating that no major advancements have been made in a case that is now 10 years old. My hope is that with the new traction on social media, we can finally get down to the bottom of this and get answers and justice for Fawn's sake. Now, I will pass this to you. I mean, do you think that Fawn is still out there? I mean, if not, who do you think is responsible for her passing, and what do you think happened? Please be kind in the comments, as this is a real person with mourning friends and family who may see what you write. So if you can, consider donating to their GoFundMe or simply share this video to inform more people. Guys, thank you so much for watching another episode of Killer Bites. I'm Mack, and we'll see you next time.